Nature is so much more in alignment with higher self and with God as humans are. In comparison, we are truly pitiful. However, human beings have the exact same potential as any other creature out there for the absolute best perfection and alignment with God and with higher self. But contrary to popular belief, it is not about that finding that missing link to enlightenment. No. But it is about bringing clarity into that innate resistance. The resistance that deviates and blocks us. It took me a very long time to figure this out, but I hope I can make you see it in just one video. Let's start by giving ourselves the little present of awareness. Because we live such busy lives, sometimes you just need to come home to the isness of what is, so that you can give some time to yourself and truly understand something, right? So let's start breathing consciously. Breathe in deeply. Hold your breath for just a second. And breathe out. Breathe in as deep as you can. Hold it. And breathe out. One more time. Breathe in. Breathe out. Become aware. Are you familiar with the expression, the oak sleeps in the acorn? Imagine that we take an acorn and we place it into the damp soil of a forest. What happens? It feels the water coming to it, and it starts to develop roots. The roots spread out from the acorn, and they start to absorb the water from the forest floor and the nutrition. And it grows wider and wider, and then it sprouts up from the soil, this little oak tree, and it opens up its foliage and it grows towards the sun. It will take on all of the sunlight that it can, and its roots will take on all of the water and the nutrition that it can. And it will grow as big as it can. Now, let's compare that to a human being. A human being is, up until halfway of this story, kind of the same, but then a human being can say, I think I'm going to stop growing now. A human being can grow taller, but it stops out of its own accord. It doesn't take all of the nutrition that it needs from the soil. A human being says, I'm going to take maybe, 80% and I'm going to leave 20%. A human being says, I'm going to not have all of my leaves in the sun, but I'm going to grow a portion of my leaves in the shadows, because maybe the sun is not enough. Isn't that weird? Nature doesn't have that. All animals in nature, be it herbivores or carnivores, also plants and trees and mushrooms, everything in nature takes everything that it needs, and it grows always into its full flourishing. Human beings don't do that, right? Human beings stop themselves. But now, when we look at nature, everything takes exactly what it wants, what it needs. But when we look at nature as a whole, then from the equator, where life is abundant, all the way up to the poles, where life is very hard, and everywhere in between, what do we see? We see pure balance. Nature is always nicely in balance. If you look at the blood values of an animal in its natural environment, a wild animal, then you see that it does not lack any nutrition. Also, it does not have a surplus of anything. Its body weight is perfect. An animal is the perfect expression of its best version. It's in perfect alignment with its higher self and with God. There's no deviation there. There's no problem. So what is the problem with human beings? Why can't we do that? Or why seemingly don't we do that? Well, the first thing that I want you to realize is that the essence, the essential energetic essence of any animal, any plant, any tree whatsoever is the same as your essence. A human being and an animal is the same in that sense. Our essential self, that energy, that consciousness, is the same. So what differs between an animal and a human being is that a human being has way more complexity in our brain and therefore in our mind. We have such a complexity in the mind that this energy kind of doesn't go in a straight line. It can go all over the place. And it also conjures up what we could call the ego, the sense of self, the jiva, the ahamkara, whatever you want to call it. It's the sense of self created in the mind. You could see that as, the CEO of what you are. It's not the owner, but the CEO. But more about that in a future video. I'm going to make a video specifically about the sense of self, right? Not in this video. But this sense of self and this complexity of the mind can create something very, very strange, something that you don't find in nature. It is the energy, the force, the essential self, so the essential energy which is the identity of every organism. So it's the same as for you. If you refer to yourself, to what you are, your energy, your awareness, that energy, because of the mind, can actually turn on itself. Very, very strange. We only find that in human beings, that the own energy is working against itself. And that is the cause that human beings are not living, in general, their best version. That they limit themselves. That they are like a tree who at some point says, I'm going to stop growing now. I'm not going to give my full potential. It's because that energy is confused. It turns on itself. Now the confusion truly is an insult to God, really. But it's not out of ill will. We do this out of unconsciousness, out of ignorance. We human beings are ignorant of our true self. So how can we become more aware of what we are? How can we become more in alignment with our higher self and with God, and therefore be the true expression that we are supposed to be? The full human being into fruition. How do we do that? We do that by increasing our awareness. Because the mind is a beautiful human tool. We can actually, with some practice, see the mind. We can see the mind as a tool housing the jiva, the ahamkara, the sense of self. It houses in there, and the mind has all of its imagination, all of its capabilities, all of its potential for creation. But it is not who we are. You see, we can see the mind. If we can see the mind, then we are not the mind. There is an awareness that holds the mind, that cares for the mind, that has a mind. We have a mind, but we are not the mind. When we can see this, then the mind becomes translucent. It loses its executive power on its own. So we can use it. We should never lose the mind. We need to use the mind. But it loses its power, its deviating, destructive power, which it only has when consciousness is in the mind unconsciously. In a way, we're not aware. So consciousness is like an energy being used, but it doesn't know itself. That's really dangerous. With increasing your awareness, you can see that you're the holder of your mind. And therefore you can start to use it to its full potential. And use it to create. The better we get to know ourselves, the more clearly we can see that what we are is an energy. It is universal conscious energy. And with the knowing of that, we start to fuel creation and not friction. We start to fuel more of what it is that wants to be born through us, you see? Because everybody has that spark that wants to express itself in a form of creation. This could be very big things or very small things, but everybody has that. But sometimes this spark is so small that people don't see it anymore. The more we become aware of ourselves, the more we become aware of that spark, and we see what it is intended to do. A very peaceful, small little life, or maybe something bigger. Maybe nothing special at all, but it needs to unfold, you see? So that we don't hold ourselves back anymore. Just like a tree grows exactly how it's supposed to grow. A human being is exactly the same. And the key to this is increasing the awareness of the friction that is inside of us. The friction created by the mind and conditioning. If the mind is seen for what it is, then the conditioning is seen for what it is. Because the conditioning, of course, is a product of the mind. And when the conditioning is seen, it kind of loses its validity, becomes translucent. And then more and more so, we come into alignment to what we are intended to do. Alignment with God and higher self. So I hope you learned something from this video. And if you do, if you liked it, then make sure to like the video. You can always subscribe if you want. I intend to make new videos about once a week up until fall. And then we're going to unfold lots of other stuff. So I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.